Hello and welcome to Positive Fandom, everybody. It's our here. Hope you all are well. How are you today, Russ Whitfield?
I'm good, thanks, Aram. How are you? Weather's a bit grim, I must say. But aside from that, no, all good, rocking and rolling. I went to a party yesterday, because a 50th party, because that's everyone's turning 50 now, except me. I'm over 50. Um, but yeah, no, all good. How about yourself? You are back in the Big Apple by the look of it.
I'm back in the New York groove, as they say. Yes,
Hmm.
I am back. Yeah, it's great to be home. The weather is great. It's almost summer. I feel like it's summer for me. So yeah, I'm glad to be here and glad to be, talking to you again, Russ. Good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson.
The man, the
My
legend.
Yes, my collaborator. We are all goof people, Tom Jr. Jackson and Mark Mitchell. How are you this morning or this afternoon or evening, wherever you are, Mark Mitchell? It's so great that you're joining us today. Keely Chow says, good morning.
Oh, hey,
Well,
Keely Chow.
good morning to you, Keely Chow. And Lorena Creole. Hello,
Hey,
Lorena.
Lorraine. Yeah.
She says, popping by early to drop a like. Have a great show. Thank you so much, Lorena. You know, I so do appreciate it and love streaming with Lorena, guys. If you're not subscribed to Lorena Creole, please do subscribe to her channel, everybody. And we also have Darth Plato. Hey, gang. Hey, Darth Plato. How are you?
Soundway Darth Plato.
Yes. And also Mikey Lito from Mikey Lito Live. Mikey Lito just dropped a video today, or it might have been yesterday, but he just dropped a video on his channel, Mikey Lito Live, where he does an out of the theater review of Crimes of the Future, that Cronenberg film that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I haven't even seen it. He did ask me if I wanted to go see it with him, but I couldn't.
Mhm.
But guys, please check out Mikey Lito's review on Mikey Lito Live, guys. And then we also have Cool Gamer. Hey, Cool Gamer. It's so good to see you. Big Ford Entertainment, everybody. Hello there. Big Ford Entertainment also has his own channel, guys. So please check out Big Ford Entertainment. And good morning and hello to you, Big Ford. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us this morning. Efren Guzman. Good
Oh, hey,
morning,
Efren.
my fandoms. Hi, Efren. It's so good. It's so good to see you too. Renz Tolentino Russ is here.
Hmm.
Um, guys, check out Renz's artwork on Instagram. He's a fantastic artist. He says, "Good morning, Tom." Russ and chat. Well, good morning to you, Renz. So great to see you today. We've got holy hand grenades. Good morning, Holy Hand Grenades. I hit your back up with heavy hands, Holy Hand Grenades. So great to see you as well. G Dog is in the house. Hey, oops, I'm sorry, I pressed the wrong button. G Dog is in the house. Hi, all. Well, hello. And I see you've got the most interesting man in the world
I
picture, G
used to
Dog.
love those commercials. I saw those when I was in the States, maybe 10, but they're at 10 years old now. And I just remember, God, the first one I saw cracked me up when it said sharks have a week dedicated to him. He is. I just packed up laughing, and I made it a point to watch all of them. And I drank Dos Equis when I was in the States because of the world's interesting, or the most interesting man in the world. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, this guy does, I love that campaign as well. And
It was so
it's
funny.
just, oh, it was so funny. It's fantastic. And Joker Voice. Joker Voice is with us this morning. Good morning. Joker Voice says, guys, Joker Voice has his own channel. Please go ahead and subscribe to Joker Voice's channel here on YouTube as well. Bigger Ford Entertainment says, it's always a pleasure to see you. Well, same here, Bigger Ford Entertainment. And Mario Lopez. Hi, everyone. Mario says, I just saw Top Gun in IMAX. I loved it. I laughed, and I even had a tear in my eye. Thank you, Tom Cruise, for making a movie for the fans with respect and with values like honor. Wow.
Well, should we use Mario's text there as a launching off point into one of today's topics of conversation?
Absolutely. That's a great suggestion, Russ. Certainly, we cannot ignore the success that Tom Cruise has had with his new movie, the sequel to Top Gun Maverick. I've been hearing
Hmm.
nothing but great comments about it, Russ. I've even heard that people don't even have to watch Top Gun to enjoy Top Gun Maverick, and that all ages are seeing it. What have you heard, Russ?
I've heard that it's his most successful film ever. Um, in monetary terms, that could be wrong. I saw a headline. Um, I've had a bit of a mad week. I started a new job last week, so I've not really had much time to sort of nerd out on all these good things. But every reviewer I've seen, um, be it Access Media, right down to the the bigger YouTube channels, to the smaller ones, everybody is just hailing this film. Do you know what this reminds me of? And I'm too young to remember this, but I remember reading about it after the event. This to me seems like a Rocky 1976 moment where in the 70s, as you would know, coming from New York, better than me. Mind you, you would have been too young at the time, but at that time, it was the deer hunters of this world, and the French connections, and and all of these kind of
Walking
grim,
Tall, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, right, and all these sort of grim, gritty. I wouldn't say anti-American films. I would say anti-American spirit films, right? Where they weren't terribly patriotic, and you had the death wishes. Wish we love. We've got to do a death wish stream.
I
Uh,
think they were the film noir of the '80s, so to speak.
yeah, maybe so. And then Rocky comes out, and it was this shot in the arm, which is just like just a really, really uplifting film that didn't particularly have any political message, um, other than believe in the American dream, which I know a bit like Superman always seems a bit passe and all the rest of it, but there's something to be said for that. And I wonder now if people, and I'm not just talking people in the nerdy corner of things, people en masse have just had enough of this shit. Maybe they've had enough of being told off when they go to the cinema. And as much as I love them, maybe superhero movies are starting to run their course now. Maybe, I don't know, that could be something. But this is not a superhero movie. It's not even a franchise movie, is it? I mean, can you really call something a franchise when it came out 35 years ago? I don't.
Yeah,
You
I
can,
can't.
um, but it's a Tom Cruise movie. When we were talking about this before, there's so few people that you can say you're going to the Tom Cruise movie. You're not really going to see Top Gun. You're not really going to see Mission Impossible. You're going to see Tom Cruise, and this seems to have done that. And I'm kind of that's what I thought when I started reading these reviews. Like, fucking, is this a Rocky Balboa moment? Is this a Rocky One moment? Is this now where things start to change? And I was thinking about that, and then I remembered reading or hearing there's a 90s movie which is a superb movie. It's so good, it's so dumb, it's so cheesy. It's called Eraser, and it starred Arnold Schwarzenegger when his star was on the wane, to be fair, but it's still awesome because it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's basically about a guy that, if you've been targeted by a shady organization, he'll essentially kill you, fake your death, and remove you. And he's the eraser. And they're just now rebooting that with a white male lead, in it. And I'm wondering, you've been looking at a lot of this stuff lately with Lorania, haven't you? You know, is that we've got Jack Reacher. The hierarchy of the DC universe is about to change with The Rock. Now we've got Tom Cruise being extremely patriotic. Not saying that America's terrible. He's just an American fighter pilot going out to do a job that nobody else in the world can do. Are we going to see a bit of a resurgence of the 80s where cinema is a little bit less cynical, a little bit less preachy, and a little bit more fun, and a little bit more chest beaty? What do you think?
Well, it's something to think about. And before I respond to that, I am going to say, please subscribe to Lorena Creole's channel, Mikey Lito's channel as well. Mikey Lito Live, who just dropped he said it was yesterday that he dropped his video. Joker Voice as well. Joker Voice says, I think he might be the one who said that he just dropped a video yesterday. So please subscribe to him too. And also Big Afford Entertainment's channel, who stopped by as well. And hello to I know who I can't say the name before I see it. Paul in Long Beach. Good morning, Paul.
Hello, mate.
Beach. And also a big shout out to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel. And Tom Jr. Jackson also says, check out Top Gun instructors reacting to Top Gun. So, yeah, I do think it's going to be a change. I think we need a change. I think people want to see human beings, perhaps without superpowers, occasionally. I think that would be refreshing and is a turn in the right direction. There's room for both, as far as I'm concerned. Why not both and have a little bit more variety? And it's okay that there was a dominance of it for a while. But of course, when you focus on one genre area and you don't have a balance, that's when we end up with situations where people were kind of, rejecting masculinity for a while. And, kind of these situations where they're not accustomed to seeing the normal thing that we would see. There are a lot of different genres. And when you would turn on a television, when you and I were growing up, we would always see a variety of different types of films. And there was always an action film with men in it who were doing something. It didn't matter whether they were, let's say, bad guys or good guys. Punches were thrown, people were beat up, cars were crashed.
Boobs were flashed.
Yes, boobs were flashed. There was all sorts of stuff going on, and we saw that just in a study pattern of balance. And because there was some studio or TV executive who had said, our programming schedule doesn't have an action film in it. Let's see if we can get Top Gun onto our, this year, and we can show Top Gun on Friday night or whatever. And there was a need to do this because they knew that someone would be watching it and that, it might capture the male gaze, not just in for let's say for mainly for action reasons. I'm going to say mainly for action reasons, but a lot of times, even in the heaviest action film, there would be some kind of a nude scene or maybe even a love scene in it. So
it was a requirement. I mean, it was some of those movies, especially the B movies. Not so much the Stallones and maybe what Schwarzenegger, and Lundgren and Jean-Claude and Seagal latterly. Not so much then, but when you had your sort of your lower tier, your Michael Dudikoffs and David Bradleys and all these kind of guys, guaranteed, and Chuck Norris, right? In Chuck Norris movies, Chuck is almost like Seagal in a way that he was always he was an ex something or another that involved explosions and death, and he was always the best at it. And he'd always retired. Yeah, when the agency came back to, because he always had to do one last job, whichever the movie was, strip bar. That was the place that every 80s B movie action guy got his job, was always in it. There you go. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Lively for everybody in the States on a Sunday morning. Sunday brunch. Yeah. So when I get my movie made, we'll put you in the strip bar scene.
I might hold you to that.
There you go. Well,
I'll be the cocktail
you heard it.
Waitress, though.
You heard it here first, guys.
I'll be the cocktail waitress. I'll have clothes on, but okay. There's got to be some kind of, they actually have a funny meme that recently, and Tom Jr. Jackson's going to know what I'm referring to. It's of someone on the Jedi Council who is on a hologram, and everybody else is in the room, but he's on a hologram because he's somewhere else, and they're all in the Jedi Council area. And he's, of course, in a strip joint,
awesome,
attending the meeting. And I think I might have it And I do have to show it because it's just and thank you, Tom. Tom, you know the one I'm referring to. Um, that they showed, and I thought to myself, that's hilarious. Like that's the kind of fun stuff that, you know, is was meant as a joke, but there is some realism to it only because there has to be certain elements in a film that make it successful, and I think that those are some of them. So let me see if I can find it because they
So
post
while
a
you're
lot.
trying to find it, shall I do some of the chats here? Oh, you got
Sure.
it. Okay, cool. There you go. No, you got it. Epic. That should be our new banner for positive fandom.
Yeah, we can talk about that for sure. And I did want to say, Tom Jr. Jackson did show his channel here, guys. Subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson here on YouTube as well. And he also has an Instagram feed too. And guys, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Paul, everybody's talking about, how Mikey Lito says that Top Gun was banal, the original, right? Mikey Lito. And this was a much better film, a film with a story and a heart. That's why I liked it. Wow, that is incredibly deep, Mikey
Controversial
Lito.
take there, Mikey Lee. I'm going to have to violently disagree with you on that one. I loved the first Top Gun. I thought it was. I just thought the same as the vast majority of people I would have. I thought it was awesome. I've seen that film so many times. Um, yeah, I loved it. I didn't think it was banal at all. One of my favorites actually.
Now, Paul Longleash was talking to Mikey Lito about a film that's on Hulu called Fire Island. And of course, Mikey Lito and I both live on Long Island. So we're very familiar with Fire Island. We're also
Hmm.
familiar with the culture of Fire Island. And I think it's great that Hulu has gone ahead and made this film about Fire Island. And so that's what they were talking about. Why would you watch it if you can go there? But Mikey Lito says, I was in Fire Island spiritually. And Fire Island is a beautiful place. This film is, of course, maybe like a rom-com or that kind of film, but the place is gorgeous. You'd be lucky enough to spend a day in Fire Island. So
Hmm.
now Joker Voice says that's where it started. The current class of creatives were appalled by these films and appalled that unenlightened plebes liked them.
You might be. I think you're quite correct because those films are dumb. There's no doubt about it. What some of them were dumb, um, but they were fucking gobs of fun. I mean, my mate came over a couple of weeks ago, and we ended up watching the real version of Red Dawn, and that's a
Yes.
great movie. And I think I spoke about it the day after actually. Um, I didn't appreciate it at the time because I was only, I was a teenager at the time. But looking back on it now, watching it again, the acting in that is superb. Like some of the performances that those kids, and they were children then, like Charlie Sheen and C. Thomas Howell and all those people that are now old guys like me. There's one scene, the famous bit where Harry Dean Stanton goes, "Avenge me," which everybody sort of quotes, and you can see, sort of you're focused on Patrick Swayze and Harry Dean Stanton, but you can see like C. Thomas Howell's like off to one side, like just blubbering, because he doesn't know where his dad is and all that, and all the guys in the background are really holding up their performance, and it's stuff like that. And you know, although the concept is faintly ludicrous at the time, it was completely plausible, and they explain it away. They tell you how it all happened. Um, it's completely feasible, even though it isn't. And I bought into it. Lost my
Yeah.
train of thought, but some of those
No.
films were really really dumb, but they were very 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 entertaining. What was his name? Hunter, Fred Dryer. Even he got into it. He did a film called Death Before Dishonor, and he was a
Mhm.
marine in the Middle East, and there were tons of them, and they were all really good. Stone Cold. Somebody mentioned that in the chat
Well, yeah, one of the
earlier on.
last ones that I remember from the 90s was a film called Behind Enemy Lines starring Owen
Owen
Wilson.
Wilson.
And there's like a famous scene where he's kind of walking around behind enemy lines. There's nobody around, but he's singing that song uh by the hand, pretty mama, give me some of that Dixieland. Why don't you take me by the hand? And I'm like, this is total, American patriotic kind of, like trying to push this narrative, but we like it. Like it's fun, it's entertaining.
Did you
Films
know,
like that.
RM, that Behind Enemy Lines formed a straight to DVD mini franchise? I think there were
No.
4 or 5 Behind Enemy Lines movies, and they were all equally as good as the next, and they all handled different things. Like it wasn't always like a bloke getting shot down like in the first one. Like the one I remember distinctly was that like the SEAL team was sent in to do something and then got left there, and they had to escape from Manila or Thailand or wherever it was, because obviously it's cheap to shoot in those like locations. But yeah, there was a fair few of those. And back in the day, there was maybe 10 or 15 years ago now, there was John Cena. Hey, Renz. Um, there was John Cena. He did a film called The Marine, which was one of those kind of dumb action movies. And then there was The Marine 2, and I think they're up to The Marine 6 now. And they've got another wrestler doing it. So yeah,
No, they do
maybe
serve
we'll.
a purpose.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
and I think that it's very interesting to look at that. And the other day, you and I did a video, which I am going to show with the Outcast Creative, Lance from the Outcast Creative, talking about historical films and the desire to bring this back. And maybe Top Gun is maybe one of those films. After all, it is about the military. We can't say it's not about the military. It's a military film.
Yeah.
And, maybe that film is another one where people want to see these stories again. They have a desire to see these stories, and it has to be masculine. There's a certain level of masculinity in it, a certain level of appeal to it. Men have feelings, all of these things that are in the film, which I think I can't wait to see it. We have to see this, Russ. And
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I'm just wondering, is there, you know, is it will we get back to a stage now in not I'm not talking about direct to DVD stuff like 12 rounds and all the rest of it, but like in mainstream cinema where we're getting movies where you men want to be the guy and women want to be with the guy, like the James Bond or the Tom Cruise thing, because wouldn't we all love to be an insanely good looking fighter pilot that always gets the girl? I mean, I know I would. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was really hopeful that we might be just now starting to see a filtering out of the messaging. And see, as a person that's written books and screenplays and all that about strong female leads, um, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm a huge fan of it. In fact, that I've had some not success at it, but I've had some experience writing it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think there's certainly room for strong female leads. I just think that shouldn't be at the expense of the male characters. I mean, that's the like Reacher. At no stage did Reacher cow pay lip service to that sort of stuff. Like Reacher was the dude. He was the man. And the girl, the female character in the show, I shouldn't say girl, the female lead in that show had her own agency, her own skill set, her own things to do, and she helped him, but didn't solve the mystery. Didn't it was Reacher's show, and I loved that about that show, and of course it was
yeah,
insanely popular.
and we didn't have lines in it that it said where Reacher would say, well, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to solve this. Like
Yeah,
these
exactly.
unnecessary, proclamations of gratitude, that are inappropriately placed and ridiculous because, overall it was a team effort. But, comments like that, or we would have never been the person, I'd never be the Reacher I am if it
Yeah.
wasn't for, it's like such
Yeah.
bullshit, ridiculous lines.
And the other guy,
But
and the cop saying to him, "You don't know my struggle, man." It's like, no, I don't know my struggle, your struggle. Was none of that. There was
none of
literally
that.
none of that. And oh, guess what? Everybody lapped it up because they didn't get that when they were watching the telly. Talking of a team effort, though, check out this segue. What
Yes.
about Johnny Depp's team and Amber Heard's team?
Well. It looks like, from what I understand, although the monetary value was greater on Johnny's side than the Aqua Queen side,
Mhm.
they
Are we
both
not
were
allowed? Are we not
awarded.
allowed to say that?
Well, I don't necessarily, because I'm not really I'm not a click person, where
Uh-huh.
if I say a certain name and we're going to talk about it, it's just, I was kind of staying away from saying much about it because their names in particular, because everybody's always saying their names, but and that doesn't mean that you cannot say their names. I just
Okay,
have
well,
chosen
we can
not to
call
do
them
it.
Mira and Captain Jack from here on
Yes,
out. Okay.
Captain Jack is getting high tonight. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
He is definitely gotten a huge settlement. She has to pay this huge settlement out, but they were both found liable, and I think that's nonsense. I think it should have been a situation where it was going to be in one person's favor or the other. Why should she be awarded a certain amount? Knowing very well that whatever he was awarded her, it's like 20 times that amount. So ridiculous, that whole thing. But it's not, unfortunately, that side of, let's say, people on that side will see this as a victory anyway, because it brings attention to her struggle, attention to this. And that's what she wanted all along, was just for there to be acknowledgement. I'm not quite sure what she was seeking out um, from
How
him.
old is she? Or do we know?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Um.
I wasn't prepared to talk about this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Well,
we can. I just don't know how old she is. I
yeah,
spoke
because
about
I
it.
she's not. I mean, she had 28, 30
Oh, I
something.
know what you're alluding to. You see, I don't know. I think she should go to Europe and have like a career there. Just kind of like have a fresh start, because it's going to be hard for her to. The fact of the matter is that when people focus on these issues and not focusing on
Thanks,
their
Mikey.
career goes to the wayside. Yes,
Mm,
thank you. How old did he say she is?
36.
Their career goes to the wayside. And, it's inevitable. You should only be talking about your career as an actor. There's a
Mm.
reason why actors usually stick to that and want to focus on what they can do and all that sort of stuff. Once you start to talk about other issues, all of a sudden the focus of you as an actor is not the main focus. No one's talking about your performances. They're only talking about articles where you said this or that. And well, guess what? People, that doesn't get you necessarily jobs or interviews and helps you get remembered as an artist in a role.
Mm.
So, it's a trade-off.
She's in a difficult position, isn't she? Because she was a bit of an indie queen, if you like, and she's a very good actress, and she's just stunningly beautiful. And Aquaman was her um, first big movie, or her first huge movie, and now she's kind of like persona non grata after all of this, and I can't help but that think, yeah, I think so. Holy hand grenades. Yeah, he's the baddie. Um, his name's gone out of my mind as well. Yeah, I just think she's, because I'm ancient now. I just still think she's like kind of young, and I know what I was thinking and believing when I was 35, 36. It's certainly not the same perspective that I have now. And Johnny Depp's even older than I am, right? I think he must be pushing 60 now, and I feel bad for both of them. Uh, to be honest, with you, I do have some sympathy for Mira in all of this, even though she's in the wrong and all that. I just think she's just made really poor decisions. Um, and oh, hello, Martino.
Hi,
Hello.
Martino. It's so good to see you. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Russ. Martino is asking where the super chat button is. Now, you guys know I don't have that set up yet because I don't have enough subscribers for super chats. But Martino, you can still send me money through my Stream Elements account, and I'm going to put the link for Stream Elements in the chat as soon as I get my act together here. Right now, so that way you can find it. I'm trying to do it, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Russ. I didn't mean to be so rude,
No, no, not
but
at all.
I
We're
understand what you
riffing.
are referring to, Russ. And I think a lot of people are thinking that she's so young. Why
Mm.
couldn't she continue her career now? I put the link for Stream Elements in the chat. I just hope it goes through.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did it.
there
I
it
can
is.
see it. Yeah,
So
I just
thank you,
sorry.
Martina. It's okay. It's so good to see you, Martina. You're so kind and generous. And I look forward to seeing more of your Playmobil movies, especially, the Star Trek Playmobil movies, guys, check out on PGS. Martino has some fantastic stop motion Playmobil renditions of the original series of Star Trek using his Playmobil figures. So
This sounds awesome.
oh, it's incredible. Even the music, everything. So, guys, please do check out Martino's creations on the PGS channel, which is Robert's channel, Robert Meyer Burnett. So you were saying, Russ?
Yeah, I just think when like I said, I'm 51 now. She's 36. Johnny Depp's 58. Somebody said in the chat, or 59. I
Is
can't
he?
remember because yeah,
Oh my
we just
God,
went
he looks
past.
fantastic.
Well, of course he does. He's Johnny Depp. I saw him at a petrol station once many years ago. But anyway, um, she's just made a bunch of bad decisions. And I understand that he's, if not the innocent party, the one that seemed to have been the victim and all this, and I get that and all the rest of it. But he was also sort of smashed out of his head and on drugs a lot of the time. I think there was one really funny line that someone was telling me about when he poured himself. She said, "Well, he poured a pint of wine or something like that," and Johnny Depp said, "Well, it just seemed appropriate at the, at the time." But he's got the sort of wit and maturity and long lens of life that she just doesn't have, especially the life that he's lived. I mean, man, he's done it all. So yeah, I do feel a little bit bad about the way it sort of panned out. But everybody is now saying that she's finished and her career's over and all that sort of thing. And I don't think so, and I hope not so. I mean, this is a chastening experience. I get it. Um, and there's all these people going, "Oh, she should just go on OnlyFans now." That's what's her name, Renee Olstead did, and one of the other Disney girls did. There's two of them, isn't there? That's quite famous that went on and they made millions and millions of pounds doing it. I hope she doesn't. But like you said, go do something else. Go to Europe. Do something like that. Go do some B movies. Go back to what you were doing before. Because look, I mean, I understand even Kevin Spacey's given a rope, but fucking Mel Gibson was given a lifeline by Stallone, and he said some really uh, off the wall stuff. And he was hammered. He was drunk out of his mind. Like he wasn't himself. He was just spouting a load of nonsense. So I don't know. I kind like I said, it's just my personal point of view. I understand if people don't like that point of view. I get it. I don't have to be right. It's just my perspective
Well,
on it.
I think you have an interesting perspective. I wouldn't mind seeing her nude. I'm just going to be honest about it.
Mm,
And I think that she could have a great career. She could be like Catherine Deneuve.
mm,
But I think she needs to go to Europe and she needs to make some films that are somewhat more adult in nature. She likes edgy things. I mean, she was in The Stand, for heaven's sake. That's not
mm,
exactly, the kind of film you make if you're, I think she has an edgy side to her. And I think that would be very interesting to see her as kind of this breakout star after everything that's happened in films that you would never see. Maybe Johnny Depp would never make a film where he's naked and there's a love scene.
mm.
But I could see Amber doing something like that if she wanted to go that way. I could see her doing lesbian scenes, like for more European style films. And I think she would be very, very popular. I think it would be a great film.
That leads
Why
me to
not?
another question. That leads me to another question down the road. But let's look at this one first. Modern schools teach that white men in TV's movies is on par with colonialism period. Yes, you're absolutely correct. My daughter is of school age, almost of university age now, and her film studies teacher literally does have blue hair, and she is pushing that message all the time, and they're studying The Handmaiden's Tale at the moment. So you can imagine it really is a sort of hate the sausage fest. But interestingly, it seems that, and this is a straw poll of Sam's film studies class, right? So it's not the whole country, but she asked one question, and sort of basically was wanting to smash the patriarchy, and said to the class, what do you think of that? And not a person in the class agreed with the teacher's point, to which the teacher took great umbrage at and tried to lecture everybody on the evils of modern society. So you're quite right, Darth Plato. But from Sam's perspective, as a young person that has to deal with a lot of young people. She seems to think that the older Gen Xers, the sort of 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, are still sort of victim of all this shit. But she said the younger ones like herself, it seems to be now, maybe a 60-40 split on the other side, where people are going, no, this is nonsense. No, 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 that's not racist. No, 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 I am not offended by that man, um, because he's white, or because he's a man, or whatever it is. So there seems to be a swing, according to Sam anyway, back in the other direction. But
Yeah. I think that's wonderful, Russ. And I'm not of obviously your daughter's generation, but I feel like I'm
no one would
someone
know,
who's
you are both ageless, timeless, and beautiful.
Thank you, Russ. Oh, you're so kind. I
It's only
just
the
love
truth.
that. And um the reason why Lorena and I, or at least it was honestly Lorena's original idea, but inspired, at least on my part, by some of what you've shown me from videos from the Reject Modernity, Embrace Masculinity series. Um, the reason why we do the toxic male appreciation is because we don't believe in a lot of those ideas that people are pushing through. And so, yes, it's true we talk about very attractive men, but we also are doing it because we want men to know in general that we support them, and that we don't, embrace this hate the patriarchy and stuff like that's just not us. I love seeing men on film. I love men, all this sort of stuff. We don't feel that we have to vilify them. And if you are, and as that famous line, one of the actresses had said, well, I don't want to hear a 40-year-old man tell me. I'm like, no, I want to hear everything that you guys have to say. I want to hear it all. Um, we want to know it all. We certainly think your opinions matter. And so that's kind of one of the inspirations for our show, the toxic male appreciation. So yeah,
It's a great
maybe.
show. I love it.
Oh,
I absolutely,
thank
and I love
you.
watching you two as well. I mean,
Oh,
I'm only
thank you.
human. But it leads me to another question. So we're talking about, toxic or non-toxic masculinity and all the rest of it. And I said this last week, and I have followed through on this. I've been indulging, and it's a complete indulgence, by the way. I've been indulging in lots of exploitation movies from the 70s and 80s,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm kind of casting around for new things to write, because I've written a bunch of karate movies now, and they're just sort of sitting on my hard disk, and I'm not doing anything with them until the arena eventually comes out, if it ever does come out. Um, and I want to do something else.
Hi,
And I
Carlos A.
was thinking,
Smith. Sorry. Hi, Carlos
oh,
A.
hey,
Smith.
Carlos. Yeah, so I was thinking about we spoke about erotic thrillers, which I think is definitely a goer for the female gaze, not because the old ones were always from the male gaze, which made me laugh when you were talking about being the cocktail waitress in the strip bar. I remember in one of the Seagal movies, Out for Justice, there was a cocktail waitress played by an actress called Shannon Worry, and she did a number of erotic thriller, Mirror Images 1 and 2, I think, or Mirror Images 2, and Animal Instincts 1 and 2. And I was a huge fan of hers in the 90s, so it sort of made me laugh because she was the cocktail waitress, and then went on to get everything out in those. So yeah, erotic thrillers from the female perspective. I wonder, could would it be possible to make an exploitation, chained heat, caged heat, women in prison style flick in today's climate? I think not. But I wonder if Top Gun Maverick, will swing us back towards an era where you could get funding for something like that, because you could shoot it cheap, you'd give lots of people lots of work, and it'll be great fun. But do you feel that they really were exploitative, or do you just think that was the tag that was given to them?
I don't think they were exploitative because there were other people making films, let's say, with similar characters, but in different situations. So if there were never any action films, let's say, with black men in them, if there was never an action film where you had a black man in it, but then
Mhm.
the only one that was ever made was I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Yeah, it might be a little bit of an exploitation saying we need to show a black male but it has
Mhm.
to have everything about being Black in it. That might be extreme where we never saw any other films. There were other Black action stars out there.
Mm.
Certainly the actors in the films were making fun of themselves from other films as well. So there's that element to it, because a lot of the actors who were in some of these exploitation films were famous actors. There's
Yeah.
a lot of them were not unknown. They were known, very well known individuals. So if you were already well known and you're making it's more of a comedy. Yeah, they call it an exploitation film because I guess there are so many stereotypes which are just meant to have fun with, to laugh about. But I think that whether it's sexual exploitation or Black exploitation, whatever exploitation you want to call it, as long as we have a variety out there, then there's a place for exploitation films. And then it doesn't feel like, you're kind of taking complete advantage, or you'd never see these people if it wasn't for this film. No, that's not the case. We
Mhm.
are seeing these actors back then, um, and certainly now. So,
I
uh,
saw one the other day, and it's funny you because you were talking about they didn't have any black male action heroes and that sort of thing. It had Linda Blair and Sybil Danning in it. It was from the early to mid '80s, and I think it was either Chained Heat or Caged Heat or something like that. But it was a woman in prison video, right? But the point was there was an Amazonian African American woman in it, and she very explicitly spoke about her people and all that sort of thing. And it started out that she was the head of obviously the African American inmates, and Sybil Danning was the head of the white inmates. And of course, they didn't like each other, and they had a fight. And she made her point about this and that, and Sybil Danning threw a few racist slurs at her, and then there was another fight, a cat fight or whatever it was. But at the end, they teamed up. Like they got past it, right? They actually, oh, no, we're the biggest, baddest mamas in this prison. If we work together, then we can do it. So it was kind of cheesy, but kind of good. And yeah, there was loads of pointless nudity and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe an exploitation movie.
Yeah, and also kind of like the midlife crisis movie for women, which used to be things like Under the Tuscan Sun, where it would be like some 40s divorcee chick who goes to some kind of exotic location, finds a lover, and then meets some guy. Like
Mm.
it's got a very hallmarky kind of feel, but there were Hollywood studios making films like this. I mean, who are they making these films for? They're making films for a woman like me, or anyone who enjoys to watch films like that. People who have money, who can buy movie tickets, or who are buying subscriptions to things. That's who they're making these films for. Just the other day, Maya Randolph is making a show on, I think it might be Apple TV. It's called Ludin. It's of course about a woman who's divorced, and her husband leaves her
I'm sorry,
$67 billion.
it's called what?
Loot,
Loot.
Loot.
Okay.
Yeah. And Maya Randolph plays this woman who's a divorcee. And, she's not really that beat up. I mean, she cries a little bit, but she's not that beat up about the divorce. She is beat up about being left alone, but she isn't exactly left alone because she has 67 $1 billion. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of money. No one could
Hmm.
spend this in their lifetime. And so she's in a very unique position. And I kind of think, it's kind of a metaphor for, a person who has the rest of their life ahead of them, because you can't pretend like your life is over at 40 or 50. You can't do
Mm.
that. You
No.
still have, a good half of your life left. What are you going to do with that? And I don't know whether it goes into the sexual side. I kind of hope it would. But, we definitely could see more things like this. And, I think that if we're going to continue to write stories, it's okay to even go so far as to say that you're going to see older people with younger people. I
Mm.
think that that's the way the world is now. I don't think it's so separated by age anymore. And
We'll look
so
at
that's
Mira and Captain Jack.
yes, yes. And of course it's a Hollywood version of it.
Mm.
But I think that with the idea that if we're looking at different groups coming together, and now it's more open, that's something that could be explored, more commonly in writing.
Mm.
So I don't I don't even think, I think they kind of do explore it sometimes, like the swinging element
Mm.
was explored in Peacemaker with that character. There's a female
Mm.
character who kind of like makes love to Peacemaker, and I can't remember the other guy. Um,
Vigilante.
yes, and Vigilante, and that was like one of my favorite scenes. And I'm like, of course, women of my age are gonna like this scene because she looks like a regular woman. She's not a superhero. She's a
Mhm.
regular woman who got to make love to two superheroes at the same time. Of course, we like that stuff. You know, give us a little bit of this fantasy. She doesn't want to marry these guys. She just wants to be able to enjoy herself. They wanted to enjoy themselves. It was a win-win situation. So
Yeah.
this was something that I think we have to be realistic about when we're writing stuff. The end isn't always going to be, going down an aisle to get married. Like there has to be, other alternatives that are also, I'm just saying, it's
No,
not
no, I
always
was just thinking like that walking down the aisle and getting married is one sort of happy ending, and uh, a threesome with a couple of superheroes is also a happy ending for everybody involved. Am I
well,
right?
I think so as well. And I think that let's say hypothetically that this woman, the swimming lady, is not exactly the best actress. Let's say hypothetically she isn't, but
Mm.
it's pleasurable to look at her.
Mm.
Let's just say hypothetically that the majority of our pleasure is from viewing the person and looking at them, and it's entertaining to see them. Then she's doing her job. Perhaps her role in the film was not the best role, but you needed someone beautiful to play that role. Let's just be
I
honest about
think,
it.
yeah, I think our you are so right. It is by and large the especially no, not even the bigger ones. Most actors and actresses, by and large, their job is to be hot, to be good looking. That's why they're always in shape. Well, I can't work out like Chris Hemsworth because he's got, yeah, dude, it's his job. That's why he's got dietitians and this and that, and every single photograph of Chris Hemsworth is taken in the perfect lighting. Even his selfies on Instagram are taken with to make him look as it's their job to be beautiful. I mean, yeah, there's a place for people like me and people like Danny DeVito and all that kind of stuff. We existed. There, you always need character actors if you like, but look at Pamela Anderson, Angelina Jolie, Kate Beckinsale. You know, these people, uh, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I think we can all agree that Angelina Jolie and Kate Beckinsale are lovely. I leave Pamela Anderson out because she's my she she got divorced recently. She's waiting for me. I will be her sixth and final husband.
Russ, this is your
I
chance.
know I'm going to get in there.
I'll put in a good word. Pam, he's great.
Thanks. um, Talking of great, now, so we've covered erotic thrillers, and we've covered exploitation movies and women in prison, and a bit of superheroes. Yeah, boys take season two is a bit one-sided. Season three, yes, I haven't seen it yet. Joker voice. Talking of what is or isn't good, and I'd be interested to hear your point of view on this. Did you get a chance yet to watch episode 3 of Kenobi?
I did.
Oh dear. Okay, and give me your review.
I think that the show has potential, but a lot of the things in the show were kind of rushed and, maybe not the best thing for the show. So, for example, for me, the best line
Well,
in episode I'm sorry.
spoilers? Do we need our spoiler
Oh, yeah,
thing?
maybe I should do that. Let me just get to that and yeah, where are we? I'll put my spoiler banner up there. Let me just edit it a bit. And E2. Let's see. Sorry, guys. E3. Okay, save. Let's see if it works. Ticker show.
There you go.
Okay. Wow. You should have seen me behind the scenes. My hands were like,
Cooking with gas.
um,
It's like watching a swan. Everything working frantically below the line of sight, but it's all looking smooth and serene on top.
you are so kind. Yeah, I was going to say, and I do also want to say hello to MCP Scotty. Happy Sunday to you. He says he liked Top Gun Maverick, and it let the classic hero be the hero instead of lecturing us on forgetting about him.
Yeah, not
And
content to let the past die.
yeah, I MCP Scotty, I can never forget about Tom Cruise. So, and also Six Scale Separatist is here as well. Hello to you.
Hello, mate.
Bloodsport One is also here. Hi,
Oh,
Bloodsport
man with the
One.
best handle on the internet.
Yes. Good morning to you. We also have Bugman. Amber should
Oh,
play
hello.
herself in a movie. Um, True Life Ending in the Trial and Beyond. James Franco could also play himself, and Elon might be in it. And I thought it'd have to be Margot Robbie who would play that role. And also Rogue Thinker, who's with us. There are plenty
Oh,
of
hello,
lovely ladies to appeal to the visual senses. It's the ones who can add skill of the craft that are the ones that are doing their job in entertainment. And is that, oh yes, Gary. Gary did ask a question earlier and I didn't answer him, at least I think it was. He says, he asked about what is Fire Island, and it is a place located on Long Island. So I'm sorry I did not mention that, Gary, if it was you. But Gary, hi, if I didn't say hello to you already, I just want to make sure I got everyone there. Now, Russ.
Kenobi, yes.
Yes, in regards to Kenobi, what I was going to say, at least in my personal opinion, is that there was one line in it that I felt was very sweet, where she asks Kenobi if he's her real father. And I thought to myself, now that's quality writing. That's the kind of thing that it almost felt like they weren't on that barge anymore. It was just Leia and Ben Kenobi. And it was like such an intimate moment. You know, this is why we tune in for things like that. Those intimate moments that we can't really see. We don't tune in for moments where she says things like, well, you look like you could be my granddad, or, you know, like all that other bullshit lines. We're not there for those. We're there for those intimate moments. And I think that when they steer away from it at this stage in the game, if they stay away from it with Kenobi, it's almost as if they're not giving us what they promised, because we want to know Ben Kenobi intimately. That's what this whole thing is about. We want to know his intimate thoughts. I want to go into Ben Kenobi's mind and find out what this man is thinking, what makes him tick. You know, I want to know all of his intimate thoughts and concerns. So when they stay away from it, when they go away from it, it's kind of like, you know, a disappointment for me in that regard. And so that's how I feel about the series, in a sense, when they move away. I thought that scene where he saw Anakin in the field was terrifying, because I had to go in closer and I realized what he was seeing. He was seeing Anakin, like, just randomly. I hope I'm talking about the right episode.
Yeah,
But
yes, that's number 3.
I was just so shocked that they would even show that. And I'm like, well, what are you saying when he sees that? Is it that he can't stop thinking about Anakin, and like his voice is pounding in his head? They've made this connection again through the Force. You know, what was the implication of that? And if that's what it was, that's great. When they finally do see each other, and I this is not my original idea, but someone had said that the idea that they would have this sort of like little cat fight, which is what it felt like, because it was like, well, what exactly are they fighting over right now? You know, it's kind of like they have some harsh words, right? I'm going to give you some harsh words, but what are they fighting over exactly? So that's something too, because Leia's dilemma didn't have to be where she's kidnapped. The dilemma could have been there, that, you know, he thinks she's a Force sensitive child, and maybe he wants to get her too, not realizing that's his own daughter. That could have been a very interesting twist, but they didn't go down that route. And so, you know, now it's just the kidnapping plot, and, you know, she has to run away, and, you know, that gets very tired, and it's not the most interesting storyline. Ben Kenobi can get you away from anybody. I don't care if he hasn't used the Force in 10 years. That guy's amazing. So, you know, you're going to be fine if you have Ben on your side. I just felt like that storyline in particular is very weak. Bring in Leia, you know, under something real, not because she ran away and then she got kidnapped and they're begging him to come help them. And I'm like, he would just go. He'd just go and help. They wouldn't have to beg him or convince him to leave. I just don't, so for me, that's how I felt about that episode. What did you think, Russ? What were your thoughts? And hello to
I
Bettino Calorce. Sorry.
Hello. I agree with you on that moment. The performance of that moment when he says, I every time I look at you, I can see your mother's face, or whatever the line is. That was fine, but the whole setup to get to that line, like they must have taken up 10 minutes of film just to get to that line, and it felt really clunky at the end of it. But I mean, Ewan McGregor sold it because he's Ewan McGregor, and he's a amazing, amazing actor. The problem that yeah, Leia shouldn't have been in the show. I agree, Joker voice. It's kind of like years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. And I also rescued you from kidnappers when you were 10. Don't you remember that kind of thing? It really is. It's going out of its way. Now, I know Star Wars canon in the prequels was a little bit sketchy, but this is really beyond the pale as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think they know what the hell they're doing. So, last episode, he can barely do Aikido. This episode, he he now in that scene by the laser gate, he's taking people on, and his aikido's amazing, and he does trick shots and all that sort of thing, and then interestingly decides to shoot the gate. And I thought, oh, they're going to get in the thing and ride off, and they didn't. And I think, well, why didn't you just walk around the gate? But anyway, that aside. But then 5 minutes later, he's having a fight with Darth Vader, and he's shit, and he's running away, and he's frightened, and all that. And I don't know why he's so frightened. And has he switched the Force on or not? All of these things, I don't get it. And I just think, why did they have to have a fight? And why couldn't we have just built, like, if he's afraid of him, why didn't they just run off as opposed to hanging around and all the rest of it? Like the whole bit was entirely pointless. It only exists to get Reva now to be able to kidnap Princess Leia. Yes, Mario says, I am hating Kenobi. Looks like the Last Jedi all again. I didn't like Disney's statements about file. Yeah, exactly. No, he didn't like what the Disney statement about Star Wars fans. Once again, because of two or three idiots, we're all insulted for not liking the series. Well, they were getting their answers in early on that one. Everybody was already racist before the show even came out, because then if you try and criticize it, you're an instant fascist, which is nonsense. Yes, there are horrible people out there. There are people out there that say unacceptable things. That's unfortunately part of the anonymity of the internet. But as Hayden Christensen said, now that his star's back on the rise again, thank God, kid deserves it. He got a really, really rough ride. And his answer was quite philosophical. I said, what about all the shit you got when you were Darth Vader? And he said, well, I just think these characters are almost public domain. People think, like, everybody thinks that they own them now. Darth Vader isn't just a Lucasfilm property anymore. Darth Vader's a world property, as is Obi-Wan Kenobi. But sorry, what's Bugman saying? Exactly. I thought that scene with Larry Kenobi, Dad question, was one of the best in the series so far. Yeah, it was an excellent moment. I just thought the lead up was a bit pants to it. It was really heavy handed. Yeah, it's my opinion too, Mary. I share it. Yeah, so that fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, or non-fight, it just didn't have any emotional weight, did it?
It was like a bitch slapping. I'm sorry,
It
but
was
that's
yeah,
how I could
dumb.
say.
It was like, what was the point? And then the writers realize they've got themselves into a hole here. Like, oh shit, now what are we going to do? He's been completely taken out. Okay, we'll have the tough chick save him. Well, that's fine. The tough chick does indeed come and save Obi-Wan, which is the lady from Game of Thrones. I don't know the actress's name. I'm sorry.
I love
But
that
how?
actress. I think she's great.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's brilliant. And here's the thing. So now, in order, Darth Vader's given it all that. He's picking Ben up with the Force. He's throwing him down with the Force. Then he gestures using the Force, and he takes down this huge big tower full of flammable stuff, lights the stuff on fire, and the robot comes and picks Ben up, and Darth Vader just stands there. Well, hang on a minute. You just been doing that with the just crush the robot. Saw Luke Skywalker do that. Oh no, because plot armor, because we need to have it. So the whole thing just doesn't seem to have been thought out. Again, it just doesn't seem to have been thought out. Like, where's the plan here? We've written ourselves into a corner. Okay, well, the robot saves him. Well, why is Darth Vader standing there then? Why didn't the girl shoot Darth Vader, catch him unawares, and then he goes down, and then the robot? Anything, if they were going to have to fight.
Yeah, you make a really good point, Russ. And Tom Jr. Jackson says Obi-Wan Kenobi is a fantastic show. And it is what I want to see. I don't hold any expectations, and I enjoy it for a good show.
Well, that's brilliant. And
yes, absolutely,
it's
Tom.
fantastic. I just think that, I can't help but echo what Hayden was saying. You know, it's almost like, yeah, we all own these characters. And again, I think it was Mario was saying it's the last Jedi all over again. And I think I said this last week when we spoke about episodes 1 and 2. You know, a lot of this seems to be almost like an apologist's love letter to the Last Jedi. It almost seems like this has got Kathleen Kennedy's endorsement all over it. You see, this is what happens when they cut themselves off from the Force. You see, they turn into cranky old miserable old men when they're cut off from the Force. And this is what happened to Ben. Now this is what happened to Obi-Wan, and it's
He's
now going to
just
happen
like
to Luke.
all the cranky old men out there who like Star Wars.
Exactly. And this is all you people, but also it just seems to be getting its excuses in. It's almost like retconning these idealistic characters and making excuses for how shit The Last Jedi was, in my opinion, and how denigrated the character of Luke Skywalker was. We're now not only going to do it to Luke Skywalker, we're now going to denigrate Obi-Wan.
Yeah, you make a good point. In Bloodsport 1, you're welcome. And thank you for your kind words, Bloodsport 1. Rogue Thinker makes a good point of saying that he thinks that Kenobi, should stay on Tatooine and protect Luke. I agree with that. He probably shouldn't be going anywhere. It feels like a conflict. After all, Leia has a whole band of people who are supposed to be protecting her, right?
Well,
I mean,
absolutely, but this is where it becomes so contrived. This whole Princess Leia thing. Now, Bail Organa is king of the planet, right? He is the king, isn't he? If she's a princess, then his wife's the queen, and he's the king of that planet. So he's got not just America's resources at his disposal. He's got America, China, Russia, England, everything, all at his disposal. And at this stage of the game, isn't Boba Fett the biggest, baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy? Is he not a thing? Because I think he was, because he was hired by Darth Vader to find Han Solo, right? This happens
that's right.
after that. So Boba Fett's still running around. You've got Mandalorian, but you've got Bosk, you've got Dengar, you've got all these famous bounty hunters. Well, for 50 squillion credits, I'm sure they would turn on their own kind and bring her back alive. Why Obi-Wan? Why would you dig him out? Especially when Obi-Wan's got a job to do, which is look after Luke. Bail Organa's job is look after Princess Leia. Obi-Wan's job is look after Luke. But no, now we're going to go on this mission.
And Carlos Smith says John and Dave were not involved in the writing production. This is KK Slap at the Fandom, just like what you said, Russ. Darth Plato says that he thinks Kenobi is horrified, and that's why he's like that.
Horrified at what? Can you extrapolate, please?
Yes. Tell us, Darth Plato, in the comments what he's horrified of. Joker Voice says the killing of the Grand Inquisitor makes the entire first season of Rebels irrelevant. Rebels in Star Wars canon. The show has Kathleen Kennedy's printed fingerprints all over it, and I think they were saying that and I could be wrong on this, that the Grand Inquisitor is not actually dead. Six Scale Separatist says, yeah, I completely hate how weak they portray Obi. I'm guessing there will be a rocky moment for him at some point.
But they'll have to be, yeah.
And Mikey Lita says, I don't understand why people are offended by statements if the statement isn't directed at you. That's a good point, Mikey Lito. And,
I don't know, what
that
was he
is,
driving at there, RM? I didn't.
not anybody in our chat, but in some other chats where, fans get upset when they hear opposing views. And of course, the opposing views have absolutely nothing to do with anybody. It's just someone's view. And this is a channel where we welcome multiple views.
Yeah,
We
I
like
think
to hear
though
different
I
views.
heard somebody say this, and I think this is a great philosophy on life, and I am trying to adopt it. And it's so obvious. I think, yeah, it was the guy, Star Trek guy, who was on the Drinkers stream, and he said, um, "I don't have to share your opinion, but I also don't have to be right." I just thought, yeah, that, that's great. I've got my opinions, and if you don't agree with them, that's fine. I'm not going to, I'll make my point, but if we come away agreeing to disagree, then that's perfectly valid. So yeah, I'm with you there,
Abs-
Mikey.
Absolutely. And on this channel, we want to hear differing views. And it's
Mm,
true, like we all might agree, and that's fine too. But I do like to hear different views. I like to hear different opinions. For me, it feels very unnatural that everyone would agree with everything because we know that that's an impossible scenario out there, isn't it, guys? It's impossible to agree with everything that everyone says. So let's hear it out. Let's hear all the different opinions. I value to hear different views, and if your views agree with mine, that's great too. This is what it's about. We want to communicate with you all, and we value your opinions out there. Joker Voice says Favreau is nowhere in the credits. The original writer, who John fired, is mentioned in the credits. It's not a John and Dave production. Poor Deborah Chow is being set up to fail. I agree. I think Deborah Chow got the poor end of the stick. If she has to stick by this writing, this is not the greatest writing, guys.
mm-mm.
And so I think it's most apparent in poor Reva. She's the one who has the worst writing of all of them. She's also gotten, as far as I'm concerned, the short end of the lightsaber.
Yeah, there was a visually really impressive scene with her in it, in the last episode. But the point that they were making with that scene was just so, it was so Disney. It's like, there's this awesome Imperial base, and you've got, the height of the. And I'm a big fan of the. I always thought the Empire were cooler than the Rebels, because hey, they all sound like me. I can see myself on screen. I'm represented by the British people in the Imperium, right? But it looks awesome. All their kit looks awesome, right? And there she is, and she lands in the thing, and she goes on this like 20-mile walk through the uh, space station, or the aqua station that they've got there. And like, I get it. She's a African American woman of power. I understood that from the first moment. You don't. Not everybody needs to stop and salute. We've got it. We understand it's important. We've got it. It's just stop it. Just have some people salute, and that's the end of it. Not a 50-mile walk where everybody stops and salutes. It's just dumb. But yeah, the writing for that character, and let's face it, now you were talking about Deborah Chow here. Now I don't know how much she's in the frame for this, because I understand. Um, oh my god, the actress's name's gone out of my mind. Rivers actress,
Oh, Moses Ingram.
Moses Ingram. I understand she's a fine actress, and
She's
Queen's Gambit.
fantastic.
Not
Yeah.
in this.
No,
She's
she's not.
horrible in this.
She was in the
Uh,
Queen's Gambit, as you said, Russ, and she was amazing in that.
yeah, yeah. So clearly she can act. But the stuff that she's been given, the direction she's been given, it's just not working. And this is not a racism thing. This is a shit character performed badly, directed badly in an average show. That if you took Obi-Wan out of it and this was random space show, okay, you and me, we've got now, we just won 150 million dollars on the lottery. We're going to go and make a movie with that, right? And we're going to decide, we're going to do what Zack Snyder's doing. We're going to make a homage to Star Wars, but it's going to be edgy and it's going to have all this. And we write this story. The fucker would watch it because it's crap. It's basically crap, and it's only elevated because it's Star Wars, because it's Ewan McGregor, because it's Obi-Wan, because it's Hayden. And there you are. You have all of this stuff build up to the fight. No, we throw Darth Vader in episode 3 and have him act illogically. And that moment that you were talking about, I wanted to touch on this as well. When he sees Anakin, right? And he only finds out that Anakin's alive when Reva tells him, and then he sees him. Well, how about when you were planning this out, or when you wrote that bit in script 3? Do you know what would be cool? Or what if we go back to episode 1 and 2, like when we first meet Obi-Wan? Why don't we have like a flashback to Mustafar, and then have him see Vader as he is now? Because everybody knows that Vader's alive at this point. Everyone knows who Darth Vader is, and he would probably know. In fact, he does know that Vader's. Uh, he should know. Why don't he start having visions of him in episode 1? So he's haunted by this, and we build up that maybe in his vision he sees Darth Vader taking him out, killing him in some horrible way. That's why if they do have to have this pointless fight in episode 3, that's why he's shitting himself, because he's seen it. He's seen the future. Like, because Yoda says you can do that. But it's the future isn't set, etc., etc. But they don't. They just doing what Disney Star Wars does. Oh, remember berries. Oh, remember this droid. Remember that. Tell me a good story.
Well,
I don't know.
this could have been the chance to have a more adult, even more adult than the Mandalorian series, the Obi-Wan, and it could have been like, this is NC-17 or some shit like that.
Yep.
Rated R, the Kenobi series. Darth Plato says Obi-Wan is where Rocky was after fighting Mr. T. Will Qui-Gon's ghost show up and be Obi-Wan's Apollo Creed?
Okay, I'll take that one on. Yeah, but we know why Rocky was where he was after Mr. T beat him up, because we saw Clubber Lang take him out in the second round, and he wasn't ready for that fight. He took the fight too lightly. He was living the high life. He didn't have the eye of the tiger, literally. So we know why Rocky was like he was. Here, we've just got Obi-Wan being like that, because reasons. It's exactly the same as Luke Skywalker. Why did Luke Skywalker tell like that? Oh, because he had a 5-minute bad vision and tried to kill his nephew, because that's the sort of stuff that Luke does when he gets into his 50s. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. That's not the character that. This is basically like now. In Rocky 4, Rocky turns into a white supremacist, and or Rocky takes up karate, or Rocky joins the army. I mean, yeah, it's not the stuff that Rocky does. We know what Rocky's like because we've seen him in Rocky 1, 2, 3. Why is he now this guy? Why is he now horrible Rocky? Rocky divorces Adrian, kicks her out of the house, and goes taking cocaine with strippers. No, Rocky, that's not Rocky. You don't do that. But this is kind of the same thing, isn't it? We know what Luke and Obi-Wan are like, and if they're gonna be these horrible crusties that are miserable and given up on life, why? And we never find out why. So you can't just say, "Oh, well, because." No, not. We need to know.
But there's also the explanation writing that is unnecessary that we saw in let's say maybe episode 1, where Kenobi is in his, and I kind of commented that I didn't want to see long scenes of Kenobi walking in the desert, and I was like, I'm not going to watch the series. I have to watch Obi-Wan Kenobi walking in the desert on Tatooine, kind of like what we saw with the Book of Boba Fett. I wasn't going to watch it, but we got 1 or 2 scenes and we saw that he was very close to where Luke was, and that made sense. But when the Jawa is in his rock hut, or whatever you want to call this, and he tells him that he smells bad, I was like, I just was so not happy with that scene. I really didn't like that. And the reason why I didn't like it is because it's unnecessary to even talk about that. Now we're going to talk about how people smell when we see them in Star Wars. Come on. We know he's living as a hermit. He just came from work.
Yeah,
what do you
in the
want him
salmon
to
factory,
smell like?
yeah.
Yeah, what do you want him to smell like? Roses and daisies? Give me a break. Brandon Deeks says, Leia knows Ben, not Obi-Wan. She hasn't heard him called Obi-Wan. So her message to Obi-Wan sounds like they aren't that familiar. Yet when Luke says he's there with Ben Kenobi, she freaks. And thank you, Brandon Deeks, for your comments.
Mm.
And thank you for tuning in. Kenobi is like Smith, a common surname. Well, thank you for.
Is that a matter of Star Wars fact? Because
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, there's wiser Star Wars fans in the chat than me, I guess. But we touched on this last week. Like if I was a Jedi wanted by the Empire and everybody was, well, I wouldn't change my name to Dave. Dave Whitfield. It's kind of like, well, yeah, isn't that Russ Whitfield, the famous Jedi? Because you kind of look like him. I don't know. That didn't seem to
Oh,
make much sense to
that
me.
was something else that a lot of people have made a point about, Russ, what you are talking about. And you make a good point, Russ. He looks like a Jedi. Like it's
Yeah,
it's like if you opened up a book and it said these were what the Jedi looked like. It'd be a picture of Ben Kenobi right
yeah,
now.
with his hood, like
Yeah.
the stormtroopers get on the bus there, and he does the most Jedi thing ever and put his hood on, like, dude, no, don't lose the hood, get some bright clothes, get some armor or whatever.
Yeah, something. Kevin Tino Chavomiche says, just realized since they got Ewan back as Kenobi, hopefully they shoot him picking up Anakin's lightsaber to edit into Revenge of the Sith to maintain continuity. There's a lot of continuity issues, guys.
Mhm.
Bloodsport one says that he loves the episode 3. I don't see why it's being compared to The Last Jedi.
I just think
Um,
conceptually, Bloodsport, it reads to me like they're saying this is why Luke is why he is. Look at what happened to Obi-Wan. When you cut yourself off from the Force, you lose all hope and you turn into this kind of character. So they're basically retconning characters that we know to fit into their message. I'm not even going to
yes,
say narrative, their message. That's what they're pushing. They're pushing their message, which they relentlessly do. We know where Kathleen Kennedy and the story group stand on this stuff. This is the Force is female, smash the patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Everyone's bored of hearing about it. This show serves to back that up.
well, I
Look, see, we
also
told you.
do want to say that we haven't seen the entire series yet. So,
Mm.
while that is true, like from what we've seen, it would indicate that. And from a writer's point of view, it 100% indicates what you're saying. I agree with
Mate,
you
well,
on
let's hope we can all eat our words, and it turns out like this is a turning point in the show, and he realizes that he shouldn't have run away from Darth Vader, and how easily he became, to he realized that he needs the Force, and he's going to come back and kick loads of ass, and it'll be awesome,
that. And take names.
and
Um,
take names, and he's
um,
all out of fucking bubblegum. It's going to be great.
That's right. Brandon Deeks continues to say Obi hits his lowest when he sees Vader, who he thought was dead. And Darth Plato says, I think it's a silly notion cutting one's self off from the Force. Yoda lived in Dagobah near that cave for that reason. Well, Grogu ended up doing it out of necessity, I think. At
Mm.
least I think part of his story is that he had to do that in order to survive so that people wouldn't know he was a Force user and
But he's
just
right.
be
It's
his.
an entirely silly notion. But the silly notion exists, I believe, Darth Plato, to, as I keep saying, to justify the the heavily Kathleen Kennedy influenced Last Jedi that everybody hated. It's kind of like, when we said a minute ago, you don't have to share my opinion and I don't have to be right. I don't think she shares that philosophy. I think she has to be right, and she is going to push this until the day she is no longer there, and God knows how much damage. Well, the damage is done, isn't it? Really.
Well, it wouldn't be so hurtful, at least if the story was good.
Mm.
Bugman says, my biggest gripe so far is Reva should at least change her name to Reva. Reva just knows and does everything awesome without explanation. So for me, at least in this particular story, I don't see Reva as doing everything kind of like as perfect as Ray did. I think Reva is kind of a loose cannon character, and by her randomly stabbing somebody and chopping people's hands off. Like, I kind of like that she does those kind of crazy things, but how do you deal with crazy? What happens to you when you're in the Empire and you're a big crazy?
Well,
That's what,
they would terminate you. Or I think this is kind of the point. We spoke about this last week.
yes.
The Sith is very hierarchical. Your job as a Sith is to ultimately kill your master when you become stronger than him, which I've never really quite seen the sense in. But let's just go with that. So if she's getting out of her pram at this stage of her apprenticeship as the third sister, and is contradicting, disobeying order, then the Grand Inquisitor would just be like, no, I don't care if she can read minds. Forget it. There are plenty of other Jedi's we can convert. Forget this one. Off with her head, and we'll move on. But they indulge her and indulge her and indulge her and indulge her. And, oh, look, and now you're dead. Ugh.
Yeah, you make a good point. And Brandon says Vader is toying with Obi like a cat with an injured mouse. He's had 10 years. He's in no rush.
Then why are they so? Yeah, okay, Brandon. But then, okay, let's follow that through. Why then are they also mad to get hold of him? Like, he seems to be the biggest Jedi ever. Everybody knows about him. They've sent out all the probes to get this guy. Vader says, if you bring me Kenobi, I'll make you Grand. I mean, clearly it's important to Vader, or I thought it was really important to him. So you could argue, well, where's he going to go? Well, maybe, but you've got him. You can just bring him back, put him in that room that you had Princess Leia in with the torture droid, and do whatever you want. You've got him. You've got the guy.
Exactly. Rogue Thinker says if we look at these established properties as brand new ones with new original characters, then are they good shows? Do they stand on their own without the IP holding them up? And
no, we just said a minute ago, didn't we?
Only The Mandalorian, for me, would be the one where the writing and the actions make sense. Cavantino Cavalry Che says, why wouldn't Yoda rescue Leia later? And Tom Jr. Jackson says that you could order Top Gun pre-order. Thank you, Tom. Bloodsport 1 says Kenobi in episode 2 was weak, but he's not down and now completely. He still got his skills. He is rusty right now.
But is he or isn't he Bloodsport? Because here's the thing. Yeah, we had it that he could barely catch Princess Leia at one point. He can barely do his Aikido at one point in episode 2. He wins, but it's a struggle. Now, no, in episode 3, he's got the blaster. He's doing the trick. Fucking great. He's back. Brilliant. Next scene, no, now he's not. So it's inconsistent, isn't it? Where's the plan? Like, I tell you another thing where they hadn't planned it. When the Game of Thrones Imperial officer turns up, she's in an Imperial hover tank with Imperial stormtroopers, who she then shoots in the back, and off they go. And I thought, oh, so she's a turncoat, right? Okay, no, that's oh no, this is the operative they were supposed to meet. Well, that's all well and good, but how did she get the uniform? How did she get into it? How did she go on that mission? Where did she get the stormtroopers from that she just shot in? Where's the thing? If that woman ambushes those stormtroopers from up on high with her sniper rifle, okay, I'll buy that. But now all of a sudden she's an Imperial officer. No, she's not. She's just a person in disguise. Well, how did you get the tank? How did you get the stormtroopers? Also, how did you do all of that? Yeah, don't worry about it. No, I do worry about stuff like that.
And Mikey Lito says, my point, Joker Voice, is that they need new blood in Star Wars, and it gets stale without it. And I definitely agree with Mikey Lito's comments about needing new blood in Star Wars. Like, come on.
Agreed.
And then, oops, I'm flipping.
Just wanted to say on that, Mikey, before you move on, this is the point. So KK has said this repeatedly. We need to move away from the Star Wars, from the Skywalker legacy. Okay, well, perhaps, maybe we do, but maybe we don't need to take a flamethrower to it before we do that and utterly, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru the Skywalker legacy before we move on to newer things, because people will not like you for this. They keep trumpeting how successful Kenobi is, but in terms of views, because yes, we're all watching it, but how well is it being received outside of our circle? I wonder if it's loved. As I often, we're legacy fans. We're fans of the things that we saw, 30, 40 and 40 years ago. Fine, that's okay. It's not our time. And if newer fans are liking it, then it's all for the good. But for people that have grown up with it and loved it and cherished it and lived with it and had the pictures and the toys and all that stuff, I can't agree with some of the decisions that they've made.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. And Carlos Smith says it's nice to see other places outside the sand dunes. And Brendan does say that the Inquisitor is in episodes 5 out of 6. Darth Plato says that Kenobi is flat-footed because he's in shock. And seeing Anakin in the black armor, he just wants to get away and not fight him. I think that that is valid. I think
Then why didn't
he's
he run away when he first sensed a strange disturbance in the Force, a presence he's not felt since? Fuck me, that's Anakin. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
That's a good point. And then we have Darth Plato says when people agree on everything, it only means one of them has been doing all the thinking, or that one or both of them are lying. um, and people do, like, I'm not going to say it's wrong. Sometimes people don't share their opinions in a relationship to get along, and that's okay too. It's important to be kind sometimes, and it's not always the most important thing to
Yeah, there's only one
say.
correct answer to does my bum look big in this, or does this dress how does this dress look like?
That's right.
Never. There's only ever one answer.
That's right. Guys, be kind to one another out there. Even if it's your best friend who's telling you that they can't stand it, just be like, okay, I hear you. But it's there is going to be a different kind of response depending upon how you respond to what they're saying. You don't have to even say anything. Just listen, guys, if you have nothing to even say, and that's fine too. Also, Joker voice says Moses Ingram may have gotten the short end of the lightsaber, but she's a willing human shield for Lucasfilm. I have to say that whenever people are more focused on your struggle as an actor versus your performance, then your career is in the toilet.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm
just tell us what you really think, Aram.
well, they're not talking about what a great performer you are they?
No, they're really not. Like this article about the racist Star Wars fans. This statement came out before the show even aired, so you have to wonder: did they realize they had yet another turd on their hands? To follow out
Oops.
the turd that was Book of Boba Fett.
Oh no,
Yeah,
my connection. I'm sorry. Are we still all on?
you are
Russ, can you
still
hear me?
on. Yeah, I
Oh,
can hear you. Yeah, no, all I was
okay.
saying was this preemptive strike against racist Star Wars fans and the backlash she was going to receive, because she was a person of color. They got that out early, which leads me to wonder, did they realize they had another turd on their hands, like just following the turd that was Book of Boba Fett. Now they've got another turd on their hands. It's like, oh my god, well, we better start firefighting now before it starts. And it's just a little bit disappointing because I really, 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 really wanted this to be good, and I didn't have high hopes. I just had hopes that it was going to be good, and I wanted to be wrong, and I wanted to eat my words and just say no. This was Rogue One level. This is and Rogue One is perhaps not the greatest Star Wars movie ever, but it's certainly up there. It's a really, really good modern Star Wars film. Most people enjoyed it, and I was kind of hoping for something like that.
Well, something. What I was going to say is, if it was an expose, let's say on any one of us, and we're a new character, the
Mhm.
expose should say, "We have to introduce you to this incredible new actor, and we're so excited to have them on board." And that should be what the article is about: how great they are and what they performed and what they've done in the past and how they're preparing for the role. And it should never ever be an article that leads out with struggles and how tough it is and how people are mean. Like, that's not the kind of article you want as an artist. Paul and Lobby says, young artists should probably stay away from from that. I think that is terrifying. Darth Vader says, I don't think Vader is acting maybe illogically. Vader is consumed by rage, and Obi is the focal point of that rage, and that makes Vader go nuts. Yeah, I really like that thought. I love the thought of Darth Vader just losing his shit. So,
But why did he let him go then?
because he's
That's
not fighting back well enough.
is that it?
Yeah, it is it. It really is it. But there shouldn't have been a confrontation at all. It should have been, that essentially Obi got away. And like you said, Russ, earlier, there should not have been any kind, at least that is what you said, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I just don't think the fight should have existed. But okay, so he's not fighting her. But didn't he say to him, "Now you will suffer as I have suffered"? So for me, the whole
Yeah.
idea wasn't sort of like them having some sort of epic samurai fight, which he could potentially lose. It's more about putting him through what you've been through. That's why he lights him on fire. Like literally, I am going to do to you what you did to me. Take him back to the torture room with the glowing, with the big black torture injection thing. You've got him. You've got him, man. Everyone's going mad to find this guy. You've got him in front of you. Here he is. We don't have to search the galaxy. We've got him. We can bring him back and we can turn him to the dark side, cut his arms and legs off, set him on fire, whatever we want to do. Or we can get him back to the Death Star and have him train up, and then I'll take you on. One chance to live, Ben. One chance. You fight me, and I want you at your full power to prove that I'm the biggest. I don't know. Sorry.
I
I apologize.
think that uh, it's interesting in the sense that you do have the dilemma that since they confronted each other, and Ben has admitted that he, or at least we can see from his not being as familiar or using the Force at this moment, Vader knows that he hasn't been using the Force, because if he had been, then he would have found him already. So, seeing him at this state, he doesn't necessarily want to fight him. He could just kill him, and then what does that do? But honestly, that's a plot issue in this particular story, and they forced them to be in contact with one another. And the corny part where she decides to kill somebody and then they can't capture him is, as far as I'm concerned, it's garbage. But that's what they decided to push through. And I think that that's very interesting that they were fine with that. Mike Lita says my default position is just listen. Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll just be
guys.
kind.
And guys, do go ahead. I just want to put some of these up here. I'm so behind, and I apologize, guys. Tom Jr. Jackson's Instagram, where he has his Funko pics, guys. You're gonna love these Funko pics that Tom Jr. Jackson does with his Funkos and their backgrounds. It's very creative. So do go ahead and subscribe to that. Also, Bloodsport One's YouTube channel, guys. Bloodsport One has a YouTube channel. Please go ahead and seek that out as well. And there's one more, Mikey Lito Live's YouTube channel. Do go ahead and check that out. The Outcast Creative is here. Hello.
Oh, hello.
I know it may not be Lance. Lance
It might not be Lance, yeah.
But hello to all of you at the Outcast Creative. Confrontation with Vader should have been for the last episode, and I have to agree with that one.
Yeah, just a site and a parish notice again. Outcast Creative. I'm so sorry I couldn't do the podcast. I explained why. I just couldn't make it, and I'm really, really sorry, because I really wanted to do it, because that guy was in fucking Strike Back. Strike Back was one of the finest TV shows of all time. So I'm devastated to have missed it, and I do sincerely apologize.
Well, guys, definitely subscribe to the Outcast Creatives YouTube channel. And they also have actor Jason Salke from the Sharp TV series on in about 2 hours. Sharp's Blades, Sharp's Swords, Sharp's Regiment.
Eagles, Sharp's Waterloo.
Yes, all of that. Guys, if you enjoyed Sean Bean, as well as a long cast of people who, including Jason Salke from the Sharp TV series, definitely check out the Outcast Creative. I can't wait to see that. And now, Joker Voice says, not using the Force because of risk exposure makes no sense. Training Luke would include using the Force and risk exposure. And then he goes on to say, oh, and welcome Mark Spector's avatar. Or,
hello.
How are you? We can have Ewan McGregor on the show and ask him these questions.
Yeah, I'll just give him a call. Hang on.
That's right. Oh, Ewan, yes. Hi, it's our hello. Are you still there? So I think that this is something, the next 3 episodes, if they don't resolve these issues in the next 3 episodes, it's going to be not nearly as bad as the Book of Boba Fett, where nothing happened. Like it was kind of the opposite of where there was absolutely nothing happening. But one character they definitely need to resolve is the Reva character. And, whether she's going to fall or, become the next Grand Inquisitor, whatever happens to her, they have to do it right. Don't mess this up. Like they some of her acting, kind of seemed a little childish. I admit that. And we've seen that before in Star Wars. But they need to do right by this character. Go ahead and give her something shocking and terrifying. And that would be very interesting and something we haven't really seen before.
Well, I'll tell you what we have seen before, but they haven't done it in 11 billion years. Wouldn't it be great if she didn't have a redemption arc? Because I kind of feel what's going to happen here is that she's going to have, realize that, it's all terrible and wrong, and she's going to be in the position to be the Grand Inquisitor, and then but she's not going to do it, and then Vader's going to kill her for, for embracing the light again or whatever. That's kind of my hot take. But wouldn't it be awesome if she just does become the Grand Inquisitor? And okay, she failed. She didn't capture Kenobi. He got away, right? And she just ends up being evil. She's the baddie. She's the villain of the piece. Wouldn't that be great? I'd love to see that. But I feel that she'll let Kenobi escape and get killed for her pains.
Well, she kind of did that already because that wasn't the priority for her. It was to stab the other Inquisitor. So, you go through this big plan. We're supposed to believe you go through this big plan, and then you suddenly decide that the only way to make sure that he doesn't get the credit for it is to stab him. There could have been some other way to figure this out, I think, but that's okay. It's what they decided to write. But she likes to, do those things. She's maybe the only person we've seen other than Darth Vader who burns Obi-Wan a little bit. Flipping people around, and those other Inquisitors look really strong too. I mean, I just, the one that is played by Sung, I think it's Sung Young,
Kang Sung.
Kang Soon. I thought that Inquisitor, he still really scares me, but seeing him kind of tell her that she's not going to be the next Inquisitor, the next main Inquisitor, I don't remember what he's called again, but was very interesting.
The fifth brother.
Yes, the fifth brother. So let's see if that pans out. I also kind of think that this arc with Leia, so he gets her back to, obviously Alderaan. She gets back to Alderaan, but then what happens? He just had to go through that process in order to be revealed to Vader, be revealed to the Inquisitors, who obviously knew he was alive because they would have known he had died. They wouldn't have known. So he's just been missing. He just has a missing next to his name in the book, and therefore that's how they know he hasn't been killed yet. That's what this is about, right?
Makes me wonder then maybe they'll have it at the end that they all think he's dead. That's why they're not looking for him anymore. Maybe Reva will say, it's all right, Darth, I killed him. And that'll be the end of it. Who knows? Sharp is one of my favorite TVs. Yeah, Sharp was awesome. And as a younger man, I will never forget that scene with Liz Hurley. Never. I was so shocked when I was like, wow, when I saw that.
Such a good series. That's the kind of stuff people want to see. Mark Alito says Reva is fine. And he says, I've understood her character from the beginning. Bloodsport 1 says that she is a machine. And the Outcast Creative say, yeah, I vote for Reva being evil.
Yeah, that would be awesome, I think.
Yes. No, I agree. Mike Alito goes on to say she's operating under Vader's direct orders, as I suggested last week.
Why isn't the Grand Inquisitor operating under Vader's direct orders then?
Yeah.
Because he's like the Grand Inquisitor, isn't he?
Pretty much. Joker Voice says Vader doesn't care about the Inquisitors. They are disposable to him. He resents their mere existence. I agree with you 100%.
Is that a canon thing? Because we're kind of getting into the Rebels, Clone Wars, EU stuff. Is that a thing? Like he just doesn't like them very much?
I think he resents that they have to exist. He feels that he is the one who has hunted down all of pretty much majority of Force users, and anybody else who can draw attention away from him, from the Emperor is bad. So this is why I was saying last week, at least this is how I felt. I always felt that it's impossible to impress Vader because, he's the GOAT. And
Mm,
if you show any kind of excellence in front of him to make you look good and him not, then he doesn't like that. And
mm.
so it's impossible to impress him. You think you're impressing him, but he's really going to set you up for failure the way the Emperor tries to set Vader up for failure. So,
Yes.
it's very backstabby, and you're not really gaining anything. You think you are. You think, wow, I've got this title, and I'm so much better now, but in actuality, you really aren't any better off. You could be disposed of in 30 seconds. There's no value to you. So
Talking of member berries, though, Oram, I tell you what would smash it out the park for me is a little Emperor cameo. He's my favourite. I love the Emperor. I bet he's not in it, but he just cracks me up every
well,
time I see him.
everybody's been asking for that. And Mike Alito says, I suggest people read the article I highlighted in my Twitter timeline. Tom or can let it through. Well, yeah, Tom, maybe you can find that. It would be great to see what you highlighted. And Mark Spector's avatar says, if there is a season 2, I think Reva will be the main antagonist, and you'll have Vader on the side missions hunting down more Jedi. They can bring in Yoda since he is in hiding. Well,
Mm.
that's very ambitious thought. Um, what I am going to say is, so we pretty much know Leia's going to end up in Alderaan. This is not. I think that in this season, she'll end up in Alderaan. She's going to be home safe. We agree, Russ. Do you agree that, or speculate that there will be another fight between Vader and Ben? And then, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, there has to be because they have to try and make this fit. So when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, right? So, well, clearly not after this fight. I mean, that would be a really odd thing to say, wouldn't it? After you haven't seen the guy for 30 or 20, 10 years. It's only going to be 10 years at this point, right? Um, so yeah, they're going to have a fight, and Vader's going to have to get schooled. When I left you, like he's going to say, you think you're all powerful, you're not. Blah blah. So Obi's going to find his way back, and blah blah blah. Blah, yeah. Yeah. So I think yes, I think they will have to fight again.
Yes, and I know Tom Jr. Jackson was talking to me about this last week.
Mm.
Joker Voice is saying this is a limited series. There is no season 2. I thought I heard rumors of a season 2, guys. So I'm not quite sure. But Mario Lopez made this point, I think maybe even earlier. Just hope Disney Star Wars leaves the old characters alone and create new characters for their low quality shows, except
Yeah,
for The
absolutely.
Mandalorian.
Well, yeah, we like the Mandalorian, but as I was saying before, just don't take a flamethrower to the legacy characters. Leave them alone, then. Just leave them alone. Do other things. Yeah, I think we could all get behind that.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, was there anything else that we wanted to talk about before we go, other than Stranger Things, which maybe we'll talk about next week?
Maybe
As
so.
yeah,
I
after
did
you've seen.
actually. I wanted to shout out to Joker
Yes.
Voice, who did point out. He says up here. Let me just scroll back up because there's a few things here.
Yes.
Rebels is canon. He loathes Darth Plato loathes the notion of the Inquisitors. He's not. Joker Voice says he's not going to play games with. He hates them. Um, Rebels is canon, says Joker Voice. He resents them in Rebels. The Vader comics, again, Joker Voice goes on to say by Marvel, which are canon, show that Vader hates the Inquisitors. So that's my answer there. Thanks so much, guys. That's really great. Um, yeah, there's loads of comments. I don't think we're gonna have time to go through all of them. But
No, we
thank you
won't have
for
time to
answering
go
the
through.
questions, boys. I really, really appreciate it.
Yes, and this is the article that I believe Mike Alito was referring to, that Tom found, how Obi-Wan Kenobi is fixing Star Wars plot holes while developing new galaxy lore, from the
Is
Hollywood
this gonna be is this
Reporter.
gonna be hate reading for some and fun reading for others? I wonder.
Absolutely. And just as a quick aside, Mario Lopez says that Stranger Things is awesome. So I don't hate everything. I love Stranger
Apparently
Things.
so. Apparently so.
I can't wait for you to see this, Russ. It's amazing. Russ, where can people find you?
Um, Here on is about it. I do have a website which is 1,000 years out of date. but it does have my email on there, which is contact@russellwhitfield.com. More importantly, where can we find you?
Well, you guys can find me here always on Positive Fandom on YouTube or on Twitch. I stream both simultaneously. So for some of you who are here on YouTube, thank you for watching. For those on Twitch, thank you for watching. You can also find me on Monday nights streaming with Lorena Creel and Nina Infinity on Toxic Femininity at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes on Wednesdays and Thursdays, you can find me on the 1/6 Scale Man Network, either on Say What or Uncivilized Scoundrels. You can also find me at 5 p.m. on Thursdays, Eastern Standard Time, streaming on Twitch with Lorena Creel on our show Toxic Male Appreciation. Friday afternoons at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me streaming on Midnight's Edge in the morning with Tom Connors and Andre. Sometimes you can find me streaming on the PGS network with Robert Meyer Burnett on Midnight Musings and my other PGS shows there as well. And you can always find me on Sunday mornings on this show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, our Sunday brunch show for the Positive Fandom, where we do all the parlay that's going on in the fandom. Thank you so much, everybody who's tuned in. Please do subscribe so I can actually get to a point where people can give me super chats, since Martina's asking about it. And for all of the other people who have asked about it, you can always send things to me via StreamYard. And you can support Positive Fandom that way, which I just put in the comments if you wish. So I
And
did
don't forget
just
Outcast Creative with the Sharp special in 2 hours.
absolutely, guys, go to the Outcast Creative channel and subscribe there, and you'll be able to watch a star from the Sharp series, highly successful series that I still sometimes watch episodes from that.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. We are all goof people, as you know. And for everybody out there, wherever you are in the galaxy, always do remember, no matter where you are and what you're doing, to please be kind. Thank you so much, Mikey Lito. Thank you. I am a dark lady of the Sith. I so appreciate that. And for everyone out there, please do remember to be kind to one another and take care. Have a great day, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.